Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now to return to the changing political times in the US and the rise of the so-called alt-right under President-elect Trump. His appointment of Steve Bannon, the former chairman of the website Breitbart News, as his chief strategist, sent a strong signal of his future direction. Just before we came on air, I spoke to Milo Yiannopoulos. He's a senior editor at Breitbart News, and there's even been speculation that he too could find his way into the Trump White House. I began by asking him what exactly alt-right means.
Well, it's a very young, vibrant, exciting new movement of conservatives in America. They are populists, they're nationalists, which is not a dirty word in America. They care about immigration, they care about trade, and they really hate political correctness.
And you would describe yourself as one of those sort of cheerleaders?
No, the media is desperate to crown me the queen of it. All I've ever done as a reporter is give them a fair hearing, give them a fair crack of the whip in the press. For that crime, I have been called all sorts of awful names.
But they're too extreme even for you, then?
No, I wouldn't say that. We're fellow travellers on some issues, but, you know, I'm very pro-Iraq, I'm very pro-Israel. There are all sorts of, you know, points of difference, I think.
Do you think your erstwhile boss, Steve Bannon, chairman of Breitbart and now Trump's chief strategist, do you think he has horribly regressive attitudes? He's been described by some liberals an anti-Semite, a white nationalist. Have they got that wrong?
Well, Breitbart is a company staffed almost entirely by Jews. I am a gay Jew, and he made me into a star. He, you know, flew over from America to hire Raheem Kassam to run the London office, who is a, you know, brown-skinned Muslim. This stuff is ridiculous. What a lot of Brits don't always understand is how ugly and terrifying American politics can be. The name-calling can be absolutely extraordinary, and lots of Brits...
And name-calling by Breitbart, I mean, that is ugly. Look at these headlines.
Well, no,
would you rather your child had feminism or cancer?
Well, that's not Steve,
There's no hiring bias against women in tech. They just suck at interviews. That's extreme. That's ugly.
No, it's not extreme. They're my headlines. They're not Steve's. And
how are they not extreme?
Would you rather your child had feminism or cancer? Well, women agree with me. I mean, 7% of British women describe themselves as feminists. Just 7. It's only journalists who are still feminists.
Feminism is actually about...
Feminism about equality, of course. You know, they say one thing...
You're redefining it.
Well, no, they say one thing and they behave very differently. Feminists like to say, when they're on the defensive, oh, don't you believe in equal rights? But the way they actually behave is nasty, vindictive,
Do you believe in equality for women? Do you believe in equality for women?
Any normal person does. I want women to...
so you're actually a feminist, then?
Well, I would describe myself as a second-wave feminist, but the modern version of feminism, this ugly, sociopathic, vindictive, mean, spiteful third-wave feminism, which, you know, which is defined by misandry. Okay. Women agree with me, not with you.
Donald Trump has talked about governing for all Americans, and yet Breitbart, the chief strategist now, has these extreme, divisive headlines. Do you understand why people are fearful about the divisions that are being caused?
No, I don't agree at all. Actually, what we do is we do something quite rare in journalism these days. We publish satire, we publish provocation, we publish all kinds of journalism that traditionally would have been left-wing. You know, the sorts of dissident, mischievous, you know, thought-provoking kind of stuff where you're like, well, wait a minute. Okay. And then you read it and you think, oh, actually, well, that's changed my mind.
Right,
don't you find,
no, I want to put some of that satire to you. I want to put some of your own satire to you. Wait a minute. I know you want women to log off the internet, but we are now in the Channel 4 News studio. You have to allow me to speak. You said that women offended online should log off. You said, yes, we'll certainly let women onto the men's internet a few times a year, as long as you follow a few basic rules. You said, wait, let me finish. You said, mass Muslim immigration must stop, or people will know real rape culture. Are we supposed to just soak that up and take it as one big joke?
Am I wrong about that? Am I wrong about that?
Answer me. Are we supposed to just soak it up and take it as one big joke?
You're supposed to treat it as it's intended and not wrench it from context. You know perfectly well that it is a provocation designed to make people think and perhaps to make them laugh.
The guy who's behind all this provocation, the guy who hired you and turned you into a star, as you put it, is now chief strategist in the White House. What does it mean that someone who delighted in offending people, who delighted in having a laugh at Muslims and women, is now at the centre of power.
I delight in offending people. I think the grievance brigade, victimhood, you know, the idea that hurt feelings are some kind of special currency, I think that needs to come to an end, and America agrees.
What does that say about you? What does that say about the guy who's now the chief strategist? Should Steve Bannon care that people are offended?
No, because America has been ruled for 30 years by people who are too worried about what other people feel, not what other people think, and too worried about feelings versus facts. For decades, America has been run by the grievance brigade, by social justice warriors, hand-wringers, feminists, Black Lives Matter, all these groups that are preoccupied with feelings first and facts later. They spread conspiracy theories and propaganda about the wage gap, campus rape culture. This stuff isn't real.
What does it say about you, though? What does it say about Steve Bannon, who's now chief strategist, that you don't care about offending disabled people, ethnic minorities, women? You don't care about that.
I don't care about offense-taking. I care about facts. I don't care about your feelings.
I thought you believed in a post-fact universe.
So who?
That's one of your quotes.
Is it?
We live in a post-fact era. It's wonderful, you said.
Yes, what I meant from that was just telling the facts are no longer enough. You now have to be persuasive and charismatic and interesting and funny. Just telling people things isn't enough anymore.
Milo Yiannopoulos talking to me earlier. I'm joined now from New York by Varsha Sharma, who's the managing editor of the Now This news organisation. Varsha Sharma, have Liberals got the right idea about how to take the alt-right on?
I mean, I think that there's a lot of room for improvement in terms of how liberals and progressives are going to take on the Trump presidency. I think that there's a lot of reckoning to be done in terms of how the media in the U.S. especially covered this campaign, given the results. But I just want to point out that I think the new alt-right argument, as exemplified by Milo there, is basically toss all the names that you're thrown at and just say, oh, it's actually the other side that's doing them, without actually answering for any of the many headlines that you mentioned.
He says it's all a big joke, though. It's all a big wind-up, and that, you know, liberal people are falling into this trap of getting wound up by them.
I mean, I have to say it's not about liberals getting wound up, but it's about liberals calling out racism, sexism, misogyny, fear of the other when they see it. So to Milo, he may think that what Breitbart is doing is satire, but, you know, a couple of weeks after 9 Black people were gunned down in a church here in Charleston, South Carolina, Breitbart, under Steve Bannon's leadership, published an article saying, this is why you should raise the Confederate flag high and proud. So that's not satire. That's actually something that is a real problem in America when you're encouraging sort of white supremacist ideas when Black people are being shot.
I mean, it has to be said, though, that your news organisation didn't reach the people who voted for Trump, and Trump carries on tweeting and reaching those people directly. What do you do about that?
That's true, and I think that we're having an honest conversation in our newsroom and with other newsrooms in America where we talk about how we break outside of that social media echo chamber. Part of the problem is we don't have full control of how Facebook delivers our content, but we're trying to make sure that we're doing everything in our editorial power to reach out to broader audiences as well.
Do you think that Trump's new chief strategist, Steve Bannon, the Breitbart chairman, is the bogeyman that he's been painted as? I mean, Jewish employees have been lining up to defend him against allegations of anti-Semitism for a start.
Right, and I understand that their argument is because he hires Jews, he can't possibly be an anti-Semite, but you also have to look at the facts, despite what Milo and others say. And the facts are that in court under testimony, his wife said that Bannon didn't want his children going to school with Jews, that he didn't like seeing books about Hanukkah in the school library. And regardless of whether or not Bannon has personal feelings toward Jewish people, the more important point of discussion is, are they supporting policies that exclude these people? Are they playing into anti-Semitic tropes in their advertisements and their talks of a global conspiracy? And are they basically making Breitbart a home for some of these people who believe these things?
Well, Steve Bannon did send his kids to that school, and he denies all allegations of anti-Semitism. But, I mean, how do you, in a news organisation, deal with what the likes of Milo call this post-truth universe? When there's all these fake news stories out there, what do you do?
It's difficult, but I think that what journalists have to remember is we are there to inform audiences. So we have, you know, despite whatever the American public may be feeling or the alt-right may be feeling, we do have an obligation to tell the truth and to back up our arguments with facts. So I think that, you know, we need to maybe lessen some of our tones in terms of trying to call out other people, but just calling them out with the facts. So one of the videos that we did at Now This was, okay, here's Steve Bannon in his own words. We're not telling you how to feel about him. We're presenting things that he said over the years about women, even about the current Republican Party, about how he wants to completely tear down the establishment in America. And it's not just us or liberals or progressives who's doing it. There are a lot of Republicans and moderates who are fearful of Bannon as well. Glenn Beck, John Weaver, these are high-profile conservative voices calling him out.
Versha Sharma, thank you very much for joining us.